Everyone knows the Mahabharata for its massive epic war, right? But what if I told you that war was just the final explosive chapter? The real story, the thing that made it all unavoidable, actually started generations before with just one single promise, a devastating one. So, in this explainer, we're going to go back. We're going to trace the line from a simple love story all the way to a kingdom tearing itself apart.
You see, this isn't just some ancient tale. For many, it's a complete philosophy of life. And because of that, to really get what's going on, we can't just jump straight to the battlefield. No way. We have to go all the way back to the very first domino that fell. That one choice that kicked off this whole incredible chain reaction of loyalty, love, ambition, and ultimately, total ruin. All right, so let's start with that first domino, a truly terrible vow. Our story kicks off in the powerful kingdom of Hastinapur, and it starts, as so many great stories do, with a king falling in love. King Shantanu. He sees this beautiful fisherwoman, Satyavati, and he is just completely smitten. He knows, right then and there, she has to be his queen.
But, of course, there's a catch. Satyavati's father says, sure, you can marry my daughter, but he has one condition, and it's an absolute bombshell. His grandson, Satyavati's future son, has to be the next king. This puts Shantanu in an impossible position. I mean, he already has an heir, and not just any heir. His son Devavrata is the total package, brave, smart, the people love him. The king is just heartbroken. So, Devavrata sees his dad completely crushed by this, and he decides to do something, well, something almost unbelievable. He makes one of the most mind-blowing sacrifices you'll ever hear about. And he doesn't just give up his crown, no. He completely rewrites his entire destiny. He goes from being Devavrata the future king to Bhishma the protector, a man sworn to defend the throne, but never, ever to sit on it himself.
And just to make sure there is absolutely no doubt, no loophole whatsoever, he takes what becomes known as the Bhishma Pratigya, the terrible vow. He promises he'll never marry, that he'll never have kids. This way, no child of his could ever come along and challenge Satyavati's line for the throne. And with that vow, Devavrata is gone, and Bhishma's born. And yeah, he solves his father's problem. But what he doesn't realize is that he's just accidentally lit the fuse on a time bomb that's going to blow up his family generations down the line.
So, the next chapter? It's all about a broken lineage, curses, and some pretty desperate compromises. And believe it or not, the fallout from Bhishma's vow, it hits way sooner than anyone could have ever imagined. Shantanu gets to marry Satyavati, but their happiness is incredibly brief. And just like that, the entire royal line is suddenly hanging by a thread.
I mean, look how fast things go wrong. The plan to secure Satyavati's line just completely falls apart. Her first son, he gets killed in a battle. Okay, so they move on to the second son, the Chitravirya. But then he dies young from an illness without leaving a single heir. So, boom. Just like that, the throne of Hastinapur is empty. The very lineage that Bhishma gave up everything for, it's just gone.
Okay, so Satyavati is absolutely desperate. The dynasty is about to crumble, so she pulls out a secret she's been holding on to. She has another son, the great sage Vyasa, from long before she ever married the king. She turns to this ancient and kind of controversial custom called niyoga. Basically, she asks Vyasa to step in and father children with Vichitravirya's widows, all to save the family line.
But here's where things get really fateful. The circumstances of these births literally shape the future of the kingdom. So the first widow, Ambika, she's so freaked out by Vyasa's ascetic appearance that she shuts her eyes tight, and her son, Drishtarashtra, is born blind. The second widow, Ambalika, she turns pale with fright, and her son, Pandu, is born pale and weak. But then, a maidservant who was sent in, she faces Vyasa with calm respect, and her son, Vidur, is born perfectly healthy, wise, and righteous. It's wild, right? These three moments are going to define everything that comes next.
All right, so now we have the seeds of a real rivalry. Two sets of princes. You see, this solution with Vyasa just creates a whole new problem. Since Dhritarashtra is blind, he can't be king, so the throne passes to his younger but healthier brother Pandu. And it's the children of these two brothers, two sets of cousins, who are going to become the bitter rivals at the absolute center of this whole story.
On one side, you've got the sons of the blind Dhritarashtra and his wife Gantari. And get this, through a pretty miraculous, mystical birth, they have 100 sons. Yep, 100. These are the Kauravas. And their leader, the one you really need to watch, is the eldest,
the proud, ambitious, and frankly pretty arrogant Duryodhana.
And on the other side of the family, a much smaller group. We have the 5 sons of King Pandu and his 2 wives, Kunti and Madri. These are the 5 Pandava brothers, and they become famous for being righteous and incredibly skilled. You've got Yudhishthira, the mighty Bhima, the master archer Arjuna, and then the twins, Nakula and Sahadeva. Now think about this. Their childhoods could not have been more different. The 100 Kauravas, they grow up with all the luxury and power of the palace. The 5 Pandavas, meanwhile, are born and raised out in the forest, living a simple life because of a curse on their dad. But then Pandu dies, and the Pandavas have to return to Hastinapur. So suddenly you have these 2 groups of cousins under one roof. And the rivalry, the jealousy, it starts like immediately. And this rivalry gets really, really intense between 2 cousins in particular, Duryodhana and the Pandava brother Bhima. Duryodhana just can't stand Bhima's incredible, almost superhuman strength. He sees himself as the rightful heir, and he's just eaten up with jealousy. And this isn't just, kids being kids. It gets deadly fast. Duryodhana actually poisons Bhima and throws his unconscious body into a river. This is the first attempted murder in the family, and it sets a terrifying tone for everything that's about to happen. So, from rivalry to straight-up attempted murder, let's talk about the escalation and the infamous House of Fire. Miraculously, Bhima actually survives the poisoning, but the message couldn't be clearer. This has gone way beyond childhood squabbles. We're now dealing with a cold, calculated plot to get rid of the Pandavas for good. What's fueling this? Well, the people of the kingdom absolutely adore the Pandavas. They see their skills, their good nature, and this just makes Duryodhana's hatred burn even hotter. So he gets together with his scheming uncle, Shakuni, and they cook up a new plan. They go to the blind king, Dhritarashtra, and convince him to send the Pandavas and their mother, Kunti, away to a festival in a town called Varnavat. It all sounds so innocent. But of course, it's anything but innocent. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment thing. This was a meticulously planned assassination. Here's how it was supposed to go down. Step 1, send an architect ahead. Step 2, have him build this gorgeous palace for them to stay in. But, and here's the diabolical part, Step 3 is to build that palace out of super flammable stuff. We're talking lac, ghee, wax, basically a tinderbox. The final step? Wait for the Pandavas to get settled in, then light the whole place up and burn them alive in their sleep. The goal was to make it look like a horrible accident. But they have an ally. Their wise uncle, Vidura. He figures out what's going on. He knows he can't just come out and say, hey, your cousins are trying to murder you. So instead, he gives them this really cryptic warning before they leave. He's essentially telling them, look out for a danger that isn't a sword and know how to escape a fire. He's hinting that they need to find an escape route, kind of like an animal digging a burrow to survive a forest fire. And they get the message. Taking Vidura's warning to heart, they investigate and find out the palace is a death trap. So for months, they secretly dig an escape tunnel. Then, on the very night that the Kauravas' assassin plans to set the fire, the Pandavas beat him to it. They light the fire themselves, escape through their tunnel into the forest, and let everyone back in Hastinapur think they've died in a tragic fire.
And so, this brings us to what feels like a fated confrontation. Back in the capital, the Kauravas are celebrating. They think they've done it, that their path to the throne is totally clear. But they're wrong. The Pandavas are very much alive. They're out there and hiding, and they've been hardened by this incredible betrayal. And their survival, well, it's about to change the game completely.
In fact, the whole assassination plot backfires spectacularly. While they're in disguise, the Pandavas go to the bride-choosing ceremony for Princess Draupadi, and Arjuna, the master archer, wins her hand. This isn't just a marriage. It's a massive political alliance with the powerful kingdom of Panchala. All of a sudden, they aren't just 5 exiled princes on the run anymore. Now, they have an army. They have an entire kingdom backing them. The plan to get rid of them actually ended up making them a much bigger threat.
And that's where we leave things, right on the brink. Just think about everything that's led us here. A broken promise, a fractured royal line, a rivalry that's already seen attempted murder, and an assassination plot that made the victims more powerful. The stage is set. The Pandavas are going to return, and they're going to demand their rightful share of the kingdom. So the question is, what happens next? Will they be met with yet another conspiracy, or is Hastinapur about to witness the greatest war it has ever seen?